Yeah.
35 seasons, 36 seasons.
Yeah, they just renewed it through 40 seasons.
Are you still watching every episode?
I am not still watching every
Then
episode.
it can't be number
Yeah.
two.
So
It can't be number two if you're not watching it.
listen to me. Listen. It's like Doctor Who or Star Trek or any of these shows that have lasted a million years. There are some good seasons, some bad seasons,
Oh,
but the
no.
first eight
Making me pour
seasons,
more wine.
the first
Yes.
eight
Oh, that's a good
seasons
winery. I've
have
had that one.
have become culturally
Oh,
ubiquitous. Everybody knows The Simpsons. Everybody knows side. You want to talk characters? People know 35 characters deep. They know comic book guy. They know the sea
come
captain.
on, Jay.
They
You don't
know
even
Lenny and
watch it.
Carl. Well,
If you don't watch it, you can't be number two.
it's number two, and I stand by it. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting summer edition of the TV show podcast. My name is Jay Black, joined as always by the luminous Rhea Hughes and the slightly lit Angelo Cataldi. And so today we're doing a follow-up to our drama episode where we listed our 5 favorite dramas. Don't worry, we're still going to have all of our regular segments at the end of the show. You'll hear the British segment from Rhea. You'll hear Angelo's recommendations. You'll hear our wonderful sponsor, Steven Singer. We'll talk about him. But before we do that, we're going to do a special 5 favorite sitcoms. And my goal with this, ladies and gentlemen, is to not be made fun of by Angelo and Rhea.
Oh, good.
Any of my choices. I don't think it'll happen. I think you'll still make fun of me because I have 1 or 2 on there that you might disagree with. But I think that, as always, the audience will find my choices unassailable. So with that being said, let's start, Rhea, with you with your number 5 sitcom of all time. What do you got?
And again, these are my favorites. So I'm going to start with number 5 is Friends. Now, I loved it when it originally ran. I mean, Chandler Bing, Matthew Perry, absolutely brilliant. I'm still sad that he's not with us anymore. But the reason why it made my top 5, knowing that I loved it, Clark is rewatching the series now. He flat out, I hear him down the hallway laughing out loud. And then I come in and I sit down for an episode. I'm like, oh my God, it really holds up for me. And it's holding up for a 15-year-old. I'm sure the beautiful women in it don't hurt, but he loves Chandler Bing as well. So I'm going to go with Friends at number 5.
Rhea, I am with you. That was my number 3 was Friends. And it's very much for the same reason that you just brought up, which is my 14-year-old has sat through it and loved it. She's now showing it to my 9-year-old, which is probably a little young. But the characters are still fantastic. They're still funny. It sort of exists in a New York that has never existed ever.
No.
But it's a hilarious show. And for that reason, it was my number 3. So great choice, Rhea. Angelo, what do you got for number 5?
All right, a couple of things I want to say first, because doing this exercise, I realized that, especially in comedies, it's how memorable are the characters, especially the lead character. You got to have somebody that dominates and that is fascinating and interesting, and you can't wait to see their next thing. And that's one. And the other thing is, I have a benefit. I have an advantage over you two guys because I have really. Well, here's the thing, right? TV started really to gain traction around the exact time I was born in 1951. Yeah. So I've seen pretty much all the great sitcoms the whole time that TV's been around. That's how friggin' old I am. All right. and I can tell you, number 5, I believe my list should be adopted by people all over the world as the defining list of the 5 greatest sitcoms.
Shocking.
Number 5, available on YouTube right now, The Honeymooners. The original.
I absolutely knew it was going to be on your list.
Rhea, here's the thing, all right? And I will acknowledge right up front, not totally politically correct, which one of the recurring things that Jackie Gleason did on the show was suggest to his wife that he was going to send her to the moon and use a fist gesture, which really right now, wife abuse is not considered something you could have fun with. But this was a different world at a different time. A couple of things about The Honeymooners that are amazing. One is It actually only ran one season.
No
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
39 original episodes, and
Jeez.
then Jackie Gleason, who did not believe in rehearsing, didn't like doing the same thing over and over, went to his very popular variety show, but brought back the Honeymooners as a recurring, like a skit, 20, 25 minutes. They took all those skits and like 40 years later released the second season.
Wow.
And it held up then too. The thing about it is, you can watch it today, and despite the politically incorrect stuff, it's still hilarious. It's
It,
great. And Art Carney as his foil, as the guy who worked in the sewers, uh,
yeah.
Ed Norton. It was all fantastic. Try it if you haven't seen it. Try it and tell me if this isn't one of the greatest sitcoms you've ever seen. Number five, The Honeymooners.
And I realized something doing these lists. I was such a sitcom freak growing up, Angela. I lived on Nick at Night and all those reruns. There's not one you're going to be able to mention. You could go back to the 40s and do the Rosenbergs, and I'm
Yep.
still going to go, yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Wow.
I enjoy all of these.
Yeah.
That's a great choice, and I certainly have watched all of them many, many times. The Honeymooners. So my criteria here was mostly how much did I laugh, and I think that's for me as a comic and a fan of sitcoms, there are great characters, and there are sitcoms that I love, like MASH, that did not make my list only because it was not flat out funny the way
Yeah.
the other ones on this list are. So for me, my number five is by Tina Fey, one of the unassailable geniuses of the last 25 years in TV. That's a show called 30 Rock that ran on
Love it.
NBC. There is more jokes packed into
Oh,
every minute of that show than there are in some entire seasons of sitcoms.
oh,
It is great. The characters pop, and Tina Fey, for as much as I heap praise on her, she deserves more because
right.
she is just a flat out genius. Love that show.
I just say I binged that last year. I had not seen it when it originally came out. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And Alec Baldwin as her foil.
Yeah.
See, these comedies, they need somebody for the main character to play off. And Alec Baldwin was brilliant as
Yeah.
the foil, as the empty suit that was
He's a
running the.
mess of a human being, but he's
Yeah,
a phenomenal
yeah.
actor.
You're
Yeah.
exactly right, Rhea, and he's great in that.
Rhea, those two things might be related. I think being a mess of a human being makes you a wonderful actor. Okay, so that's my number five. Rhea, what's your number four?
So my number four, I didn't watch this when it came out originally, but during the pandemic, I was always looking for stuff to watch with my son, and we watched all 11 seasons of it, and that is Modern Family.
Mm,
What I loved about Modern Family was it started out strong and it ended beautifully, and everybody in it was funny. Like I was never like, oh, could they get done with Gloria, and Jay, and get back to the other, to Claire and Phil because they're funnier. Like whoever was, even the kids. The only misstep they made in 11 seasons was introducing Joey, the little kid of Gloria and Jay.
yeah.
Only misstep that I think in 11 years there. And what I loved about it, it was brilliantly funny, but it also had some really poignant moments that you were like, this is family. It's like I grew up in a blended family, so it really spoke to me. So I absolutely love Modern Family.
Rhea, I can tell you, as someone named Jay, it does not hurt to have someone who looks like Gloria say your name several times during every episode. I agree with you. That's another one we've been rewatching, and it's great. And Ed O'Neill is
Oh,
just so good
Brilliant.
as Jay. He was a great actor all the way through. So I love that choice. Angela, what do you got for number four?
All right, just one housekeeping thing among us because we
oh.
we didn't do this before. Let everybody know where they can watch these episodes
And
now.
Angela, I'll let you know for Friends and Modern Family, it's really easy. They're basically on every streamer. And here's a fun note: they are free on TBS with cable.
Oh, perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what we did. Number four. I want to be honest with you. I had a wrestling match with my own brain on this one because I didn't want to leave Cheers out, but then I did because I realized that both of my projects involved Ted Danson. Ted Danson was brilliant at Cheers. He was also a contributor to my number four, Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO
Ah,
Max.
such a good choice.
This is cringe comedy as it's never been done as well, even though now it's an entire genre. Larry David took the world that he lived in, inflated it, and filmed it. Brilliant. All right. He was brilliant. One of the funniest characters in any sitcom ever
Yep.
was his henchman the last 8 seasons, Leon, JB Smoove. Hilarious. He would say anything, you would have to laugh. Susie Essman playing Susie Green used the F bomb better than anyone in the history of streaming comedy. Absolutely brilliant. And here's the thing, here's why it beat out Cheers. Because it took one of the other of my top five and gave it closure. And I'll talk about that a little later. Curb Your Enthusiasm didn't just end its own show well, it ended another iconic show just as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Larry David, number four, Curb Your Enthusiasm, now on HBO Max.
Angelo, you and I think we're closer in this than we were on dramas because my number four was the one you left off, which was Cheers.
Great.
And I didn't even think Curb Your Enthusiasm. Had I redone it, maybe that would make the list. Because you're right. Because the other sitcom you're talking about is also on my list. But Cheers for me was the first time I became aware of like TV news. And what I mean by that was I remember the new season was starting and my mom had a People magazine and she was reading me the storylines that might happen in Cheers that season. And I remember her turning around going, I think Sam and Diane might be together this season. And I remember going, I can't believe it. I gotta watch. This is great. And I'm like 7 or whatever doing that. The characters, we talk a lot about characters. You mentioned this, Angelo, a couple weeks ago. George Wendt is like the 5th lead in this show, and he's well remembered. Woody Harrelson, who was a replacement of the 4th or 5th lead, went on to be one of the biggest movie stars in the world. That show, if you're a younger person, you don't know how big sitcoms were in the 80s and 90s. You want to talk about ubiquity. Still 79 million people watched the finale. And then everybody got drunk and went on the Tonight Show and embarrassed themselves, which was great. But just a phenomenal show from top to bottom. Loved.
And let me just say this, Jay. You're right about the impact. When George Wentz passed away, and there was such a massive reaction to a character in a show 30 years old since it went off, that tells you the impact it had.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary show. Number 6 on my list, but I didn't put it on my top 5 because it didn't make history the way all the other ones did.
Agreed. Okay. Rhea, what do you got?
For number 3,
Number
Jay, you're
3.
going to love this. Mine was Cheers. So I'm just going to add to it.
There you go.
The reason I'm going to add to it, it's very rare in a sitcom that you can replace a massively main character like Shelley Long
You're
with
right.
oh God, what's her name? I'm sorry,
Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie Alley. And the show is still phenomenal. And not just that, you guys mentioned all the other stuff. It spawned one of the greatest sitcoms ever, spinoff, that I was close to putting on my list, Frasier, and Bebe Neuwirth and Kelsey Grammer. That's what amazed me about it. I thought I'd be devastated when Shelley Long left. And, why do I keep blanking on her name? Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie Alley, yeah.
Was brilliant. It was a completely different vibe, and it was still a great, funny show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Great pick, Rhea. And Angelo,
also available, Angelo, available on Amazon, everything. Amazon, Hulu. You can find it anywhere.
All right. If you're going to be able to tell now that I'm not politically correct, because my number 3 was the most improbable success in the history of television, created by the great Norman Lear, All in the Family.
I knew it.
Yeah.
All in the Family. There has simply never been a character like Archie Bunker on TV. He was a bigot. He was obnoxious. He was disgusting at times, and he connected with people that even weren't bigots. I'd like to think me being among them. He had a prominent black character at a time when a lot of these
Yeah.
shows didn't even, they completely ignored African Americans, and that was George Jefferson, who
Yeah.
went on to do a great sitcom of his own, moving on up to the East Side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Love that
great.
show.
All I gotta say is it was an amazing show that completely changed the fabric of TV. It For a few years, everybody went out there and did obnoxious characters as the main person. Nobody did it like Norman Lear, and nobody did it like All in the Family. Although he tried it again with Maude. He
Yeah.
he did
Yeah.
it many times.
I loved
This
Maude. I
Maude
thought
was
Maude was
really good
great.
too, but
Yeah.
All in the Family was an incredible show, which if you watch today, you would call the channel or whatever the network and tell them to stop showing it because it's
Yeah.
really obnoxious. But it is also brilliant.
And there's also one of the few shows that actually has a sociological effect named
Right.
after it, which is the Archie Bunker effect, where
Yep.
a
Yep.
character becomes that starts as satirical becomes beloved. And that's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting thing. You know, he was the
Yeah.
object of derision, but everybody loved Archie Bunker. It goes
Mm.
to the great Carol O'Connor. My number three is the oldest one on my list. It's another one of those memories that I have watching the little black and white TV in my mom's room with the one white earpiece that went in your ear because it wouldn't
Yeah.
bother anybody. And that's the Dick Van Dyke Show,
Oh, good
which
choice.
Dick Van Dyke, you want to talk about a guy who's, I rank him along with Dean Martin as one of those people that could do literally anything. Great actor, great physical comic, great singer, great dancer, all of this stuff.
Still alive at around 96, right?
Yeah, he's
He's
90,
still, no, 99, right?
99.
Oh my God. Wow.
99.
I undercut it.
This show was in the 60s.
In the
Yeah.
60s.
And he's still here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just the supporting cast, the fact that it took place at a TV show and the writer's room of the TV show was something that as a younger boy, I was like, well, I'd like to work there. And Mary Tyler Moore has to rank up among the top 5 hottest wives in
yes.
sitcoms.
Oh.
And by the way, I would sneakily put Donna Reed in there as well. I always had a crush on Donna Reed.
That's weird.
No,
And let me just say, until
Reed's
that
hot.
comment, Jay, until that comment, you have actually done yourself some respect here. You've done a very nice job. I know you're going to blow it.
I'm going to blow it. Number 2 is going to blow it. Angela,
I know you're going to blow it. I've been
Yeah.
waiting for you to blow it, and I know it's coming. I'm
Yeah.
preparing myself for it, but we'll get to that.
Number 2 is going to blow it for you. Rhea, what's your number 2?
So my number 2 is, I think it's incredibly underrated, and it's tragic the reason why it didn't go on for a much longer time, and that is news radio. It ran for
Yes.
5 seasons, 97 episodes. We all know, unfortunately, Phil Hartman was killed, murdered by his wife. It went for 1 season after that, only 21 episodes. What was brilliant about this was, now I'm a little, I probably like it more because it took place in a radio station, which was my workplace. And I know I worked in a crazy place. And that's what I loved about it.
Oh.
I love the unpredictability. And I thought they captured it. So like whoever their writers or their consultants, to capture that kind of energy in a newsroom, or a radio station. But Stephen Root, who played Jimmy James, the boss, I loved him. There were so many people who were great in this. Joe Rogan was in it back when he was a comedian.
Yeah.
He was the handyman. He was Andy Dick before he lost his mind was great in it. Maura Tierney. It had so many famous people that were kind of like in the beginning, but you go back and watch that. You can see it on Amazon, Apple. You will see in the 4 seasons when it was there with Phil Hartman and Candy Alexander, who played a smarmy anchor to the hilt. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
All right, now, Rhea, I got to get in here because I binged it very recently on the Roku channel. And I got to the last season. And that was after Phil Hartman passed away. And they brought in John Lovett.
Yeah.
And it was awful.
Yeah.
It
was really bad.
Well, can I tell you, and I'm going to give him a little grace because I've kind of read up about it because I love it so much.
Yep.
John Lovett was a guest character on as different people, and Phil Hartman was his friend.
Yes.
And I think they asked him to come in and try to save it.
Right.
And so I don't want to kill him too much, but It was hard to replace Phil
But
Hartman.
you're right about all those other guys, including
Yeah.
the boss, Root. What was his name again? Oh, that
Stephen
guy
Root.
was
Stephen Root. Stephen
Stephen
Root,
Root. It was
amazing.
absolutely hilarious in it. Ah,
Yeah.
great choice.
Absolutely. Angelo, you're number two.
My number two ties in with my number four. It's Seinfeld. And I challenge you right now, the next time you're just hitting channels and a Seinfeld episode comes up, I challenge you to turn it off. You won't. Because it's funny.
Me.
You will. You would turn it off.
It's too dated for me.
All
I've
right,
tried to
hold on.
watch it. I feel like it's too dated.
I analyzed that part of it, Rhea, and it is dated. The phones, a lot of the stuff that they're using, the technology has moved on, answering machine, all that stuff. But the humor is not dated. That's the thing. The humor is still based on incredibly hilarious characters. And by that, I mean George, Kramer, Elaine, and the worst of the four is the guy whose name is Seinfeld. And the guests, the parade of gorgeous women.
Mhm.
And you would, I can remember when it came on and I was watching it, originally the Seinfeld Chronicles for a year, that I would go, none of these girls would date Jerry Seinfeld. Come on, get serious here. But it was so great. And one other thing it did that was so brilliant, catchphrases.
Yeah.
Festivus. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yes.
Or Jay, one for you. Master of your domain.
Yes.
It did an entire episode on masturbation.
And never said the word.
And pulled it off.
No pun
That's
intended.
one way to say it. And I actually realized when you recommended the two shows that you've recommended, I realized why Seinfeld doesn't work for me. I don't like awkward humor.
Oh, okay. Well, this is awkward humor. And the last thing I want to say about it, Seinfeld blew the finale. Blew it. It was terrible. It was awful. And somehow he conspired with Larry David on the final episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm to use the same format, a court format, and do it for Curb and end both shows brilliantly.
100%.
Brilliantly. And it gave me more closure to Seinfeld than it did to Curb. And the last scene when they're walking away and stuff, it was just so brilliantly executed that it landed Seinfeld at 2 and Curb at 4.
We'll get to Seinfeld in a second for me, but first I need to disappoint you, Angelo, with my number two. My number two, of course, is Mr. Robot. No, I'm only joking. Just joking.
Just as bad. Go ahead, say it.
The Simpsons. I know you don't like.
No, it's a cartoon that doesn't count.
Thank you.
I know you
Rhea.
guys don't like cartoons. It's been on the air for 40 years. It is a classic.
Could do a cartoon. Listen, we could do a cartoon segment. Angelo won't be on that show because it doesn't watch them.
Wait a minute.
It's a cartoon.
Rhea, let's attack Jay. 35 seasons, 36 seasons.
Yeah, they just renewed it through 40 seasons.
Are you still watching every episode?
I am not still watching every episode.
It can't be number 2. It can't be number 2 if you're not watching it.
Listen to me. Listen. It's like Doctor Who or Star Trek or any of these shows that have lasted a million years. There are some good seasons, some bad seasons, but the first 8 seasons.
Pour more wine.
The first 8 seasons.
Oh, that's a good wine, Rhea. I've had that one.
Have become culturally ubiquitous. Everybody knows The Simpsons. Everybody knows. You want to talk characters? People know 35 characters deep. They know comic book guy. They know the sea captain.
Come on, Jay. You don't even watch it. If you don't watch it, you can't be number 2.
It's number 2, and I stand by it. And I want our fans to chime in on this because I'm.
That's
Can I point
ridiculous.
something out, Jay? Yeah. You're right. It is number 2.
Hurtful. All right, Rhea. What is your number 1 sitcom of all time?
Angelo, I think you're going to love this, and this is where I have to be grateful that I was the youngest, of 6. And I had 2 older brothers who were 12 and 10 years older than me, because I probably would have never watched it. But since we had one TV in the house, Taxi. Taxi was so brilliant to me. I and the actors, like just the actors in it. Judd Hirsch, Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd. He was my favorite character, by the way. When they went to help him, when they tried to get him a driver's license for the
Yeah.
longest time, so funny. Carol Kane, Andy Kaufman, Marilu Henner, I just absolutely was fascinated by this gritty look at New York life that was really funny, but could be, they dealt with issues that you didn't see on TV that much at the time. It still holds up. I think it's still brilliant. And that is my choice for my number one.
Rhea, I got to get something in here. I read a lot about these great shows, and that's a
Yeah.
great pick. So Andy Kaufman played Laka Gravis, right?
Yeah.
But he's a method actor. So he
Yes.
would often be in character when weren't even taping as Laka Gravis. Then he had a second character he developed, which was a sleazy lounge singer named Tony Clifton.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was a jerk. And they hated. They tried to not put Tony Clifton into the script because Andy Kaufman would act like a jerk
Yeah.
the whole week, and they
Yeah.
No.
couldn't deal with him. But it's such a, you're right. There was so many great characters there, and the irony is Jim, the looped out
Yeah.
druggy
Christopher
guy,
Lloyd. Yeah.
he ended up being part of one of the greatest movies ever, Back to the
Yep.
Future.
Yep.
Right.
Who would have thought it? It's
Yeah.
great.
And I just need to say this as a 5 and 6 year old boy watching Taxi. Mary Lou Henner helped me
Oh.
realize
Yep.
I was heterosexual. Because I was like, I don't know what's going on there, but I
Yep.
really like it. There should be
Right.
more of that. Angela, what's your number one?
My number one, if I was ever on the fence, it ended when I just finished a great book. It's called basically The Man Who Invented Television, by a guy named Todd Purdue. It is the biography of Desi Arnaz, who was
Oh,
part of I Love Lucy. You guys were not around when it was the phenomenon it was. It was the first pregnant character that ever on a TV show was Lucy when she was carrying her son, little Ricky.
yeah.
She was, it's the first sitcom in history to use 3 cameras. That was designed by
Wow.
Desi Arnaz because he realized they wanted to tape in front of a live audience. And normally what they would do is use one camera, get one spot, then move it over, get the reaction shot and all that. And he said, we're going to put 3 cameras out there and we'll cut it up later. And that way the studio audience will be reacting to it in real time.
Yeah.
It became the standard for most of sitcoms. Vivian Vance and what's his name? Frawley. I can't remember his name.
Bud Frawley?
Whatever. Yeah, no, it wasn't that. But anyway, Vivian Vance, the people that played Fred Mertz and Ethel,
William Frawley. It was
William
Frawley.
Frawley, they absolutely hated each other.
Yeah.
No.
And the reason is the greatest reason ever, because Vivian Vance thought she was way too hot to be the wife
No.
of this fat old man,
No.
Fred Mertz. It's just filled with great stuff. Read the book. It's a great book. Desi Arnaz, The Man Who Invented Television. And it was so innovative. And then they ended up they created a studio, and Lucille Ball became the first woman executive in television.
Can I tell you what she's responsible for all of you like weird nerds out there? Star Trek is not around without Lucille Ball.
I was going to
She's
bring
the
that
one-
up.
She
didn't know.
financed the second season. She loved it. She's the reason.
Wow, I didn't know that one. That's great.
And they made all their money too because they owned the reruns. The network did not believe that reruns would ever be popular. So
Right.
Desi Arnaz negotiated to hold on to the rerun rights. And that is why they are very, very wealthy people as they move into the 60s. Not much to add, Angelo, to my number one pick because you already talked about it at number two. That is Seinfeld for me. I was a huge stand-up comedy fan through the 80s. I knew who Seinfeld was before he got the show, and that was a first for me. I remember reading an interview in TV Guide. This is how old I am. I read TV Guide, and they asked Bob Newhart, which of the young comics most deserves a sitcom? It's like 87, 88. And he said, there's a young man named Jerry Seinfeld, who I think is very good. Someone should give him a chance. I remember sitting there as a 10-year-old, nodding my head sagely, going, I agree, Bob Newhart. Yes, he deserves a sitcom. Larry David had a policy, no hugging, no lessons. And that in itself was such a refreshing change of pace from the saccharine family sitcoms of the 80s. They just went after the laugh every time, and more often than they got it, and it stayed strong through all 9 seasons. Not as great after Larry David left the last 2 seasons, but
Right.
still very good. Great sitcom, my number one of all time. Love it.
Right.
Do we want to go where we can find all these now, or do that at the end,
Oh,
Angelo?
we'll do it at the very end, but
Okay.
be ready too to give your list again because I
Yeah.
think I would love some feedback on how my list was the very best. Like, so just something to think about.
Absolutely. Well,
Look at
speaking
Rhea.
of the very best,
Yeah.
we have a sponsor who I
Yeah.
think qualifies as easily the very best, and that is our friend Steven Singer. Angela, tell me about Steven Singer.
Well, I just said at the beginning that these great shows had great characters, and I never talk much about Steven Singer the person, and there's nobody like him. How many businesses would associate themselves with our wing bowl, right? And Steven Singer not only would be the title sponsor and would put tons of money up for prize money and stuff. He would pose with the wingettes, and you could see he was having a great time because he wasn't worried about people's reactions to stuff. He had enough confidence in himself. He knew what he was doing was the best way to do his job, and he put everything into it. And that's what he's done with Steven Singer Jewelers for decades. He has just created a business that does not play by the normal rules, that is basically a representative of who he is and how honest he is and how fair-minded he is and how assuring he is that if you go to his jewelry store, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, you're going to get a good deal and you're going to get a great piece of jewelry. And I don't think a jeweler can ask for more than that. The guy is a character, though. I'll tell you that. And if you got to meet him when you went in there, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about.
And I will just say this, there's a really cool thing. You think like the only people who get to design engagement rings are insanely wealthy people. That is not true because Steven is you can create your own engagement ring. So you kind of get an idea what your girlfriend kind of likes, or you can ask her. I just went on their website. The starting one that somebody created is $868. So when Angelo says a great price, but you can literally go on, you can figure out what your girlfriend wants, create it, and it'll be exactly what she wants.
And by the way, if you can figure out what my wife wants, I will pay you, please, because no one can figure it out. What a great sponsor. Where do we find him, Angela? Where do we
I
go?
hate I hate stevensinger.com, the other corner of 8th and Walnut. You will get the best piece of jewelry at the best price at Steven Singer.
And we really appreciate all of I think it was Jennifer from Philadelphia, was a person that went to Steven Singer, got some jewelry, and sent us a note that she did that. And
Thank
that
you,
was great.
Jennifer.
Uh, Rhea, what do you got for us in British? And also, you have an announcement we've got to hear about, right?
Yes, very nice. So first of all, it's called Patience. It's on PBS. Okay. I know PBS Masterpiece. I don't do a lot on there. This is what's interesting about it. It is a British adaptation of a French series that I've actually watched. I watched it with the what are they called?
Subtitles.
Subtitles. And all of a sudden and it was called Astrid for the French version. All of a sudden I see this Patience propped up and I go, so what it is it's a basic detective series with a twist. A woman comes on to help out of the criminal records department, but she is autistic. I think they do a pretty amazing representation. They call it neurodivergent. I don't know if that's different in Britain. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But they have like episodes where she's in meetings with other autistic people and they talk about how they are presented to society. It's really like for me who's not been around anybody who's autistic, I think they do, and it's got a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes for being a great mystery, but also presenting that part of society in a positive way. She solves puzzles and she's amazing at it. But it's available in French if you're French as Astrid. English version is Patience on PBS.
Love oui, oui. French.
Yes.
Sounds good.
And did you want to talk about, Rhea, what your
Yeah,
special
so I
thing
have a very
about?
exciting announcement. So the new Jurassic movie is coming out next Wednesday, in time for the holiday weekend, 4th of July weekend. I am seeing a sneak preview it with my son tomorrow night, and I will be giving a huge review for all of our people next Wednesday to set you off on your holiday weekend. We will have the first look at it, and I know, Jay, you're incredibly jealous
I'm very
that I haven't
jealous.
invited you.
Yeah. What you're bringing your son
I
over
got
your
to bring two
podcast?
people, so I'm bringing my son and his friend Valentino.
Well,
Great.
I at least deserve Valentino's spot. Come on, Rhea. Angelo, what do you got for us this
Yeah,
week?
I am having a heck of a time finding fictional stuff. I don't know. I've hit a dry spot, but I'm having a great success with documentary stuff. Three quick ones this week. All right. First of all, Jennifer from Philly, who we were talking about before, was her suggestion. I'd see something that was on Netflix in 2020 called The Pharmacist. It's
Oh,
terrific.
Wow.
4 episodes about a guy whose son died of a drug overdose and began a massive campaign to basically go after this doctor in his area, Dr. Jacqueline Cleggett, who was basically a pill mill. She
yeah.
would open at 11 at night and she would hand out
Huh.
hundreds and hundreds of prescriptions to oxycodone and all of the stuff, or any kind of opiate.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal. This Dr. Cleggett, who ended up getting convicted, agrees to do an interview. This thing
Wow.
happened like 15 years ago. And it's fascinating how in denial she is after all these years. And
Wow.
all the people who overdosed because she just handed out these prescriptions. It's brilliant. It's on Netflix. It's called The Pharmacist. Jennifer, thank you. The next one's also got the title of a job, The Mortician. It
Yeah.
just dropped at HBO Max. And it's a really great crime story because David Sconce, who is he's a mortician who decides that the way to make money is to not cremate bodies one by one. Takes too long. So he'd throw 20 of them in the
Oh, good
crematorium at the
God.
same time. They'd scrape up the ashes and tell people it was their uncle or whoever.
Oh,
They
right.
didn't know who the ashes were.
Oh
And the
my God.
guy was just, and so that guy agrees to do an interview, Jay. And
Huh.
at the very end, kind of thinks me of Robert Durst. Remember that great
Yep.
Showtime
Oh,
thing a
yes.
couple of years ago? At the end, he kind of suggests he might have murdered 3 people.
Oh,
You
geez.
got to see the way it ends. It's brilliant. It's great.
Wow.
That's called The Mortician at HBO Max. And then, Rhea, you mentioned earlier about Jay's number 2 pick, The Simpsons.
I know
Um,
what you're going to do because I started watching it.
No, Rhea, my son was over with my grandkids, and I said, we're watching this on the day it drops, which was Tuesday of this week on Netflix. Trainwreck, The Poop Cruise.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. It's 55 minutes. A
Yeah.
Trainwreck documentaries are short.
Yep.
It is the most outrageous thing. Rhea, anyone planning a cruise, don't
Run.
send your money in until you watch the poop cruise. It is one of the foulest, most outrageous experiences of your life, but it's terrific.
It
And
is. You are afraid
oh,
for this to ever happen to you. You cannot stop watching it.
Rhea, that's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
it was. Claustrophobia, trapped on a
Yeah.
boat, and you're engulfed with other people's poop.
I just a quick side note, as someone who performs on cruises,
Yeah.
check to see if I'm performing there before you cancel your seat.
Yes, in
Because
fact,
I will keep you laughing through the poop, I promise.
you're right next to a big steaming pile.
All right, so let's talk about what we did this week. Let's go around and each of us give our picks and where to watch them. Rhea?
Okay, Friends and Modern Family, you could see it on all the streamers, plus it is free on TBS cable. Cheers is also on several streamers. News Radio is on Apple and Amazon, and Taxi is on Paramount and Amazon.
Mm, Good stuff. I Love Lucy is my number one. That's on Paramount and Roku. Seinfeld is on Netflix. That's my number two. Number three, All in the Family is on Amazon and Hulu. Curb Your Enthusiasm is on HBO Max. And The Honeymooners is available, all 39 episodes, on YouTube.
You already heard a couple of my picks from everybody else, so I'll just give you the two that you got to see. 30 Rock is on Peacock, and The Simpsons, which is a sitcom, is on Hulu and Disney Plus. You can check that out there.
And finally, The Mortician's on HBO Max. The Pharmacist is on Netflix. Trainwreck, The Poop Cruise is on Netflix. And Patience is on PBS.
And we want to thank you guys for listening. You can go get Angelo Cataldi's book. Yes.
I got one last thing. I can't believe that. I'm making a public appearance on Sunday.
Whoa.
Right?
Wow.
Which would be June 24, 20. What is it? What's Sunday? Anyway, whatever it is, I'm appearing at the convention at the Philadelphia Convention Center for the American Library Association. I'm at the booth for the publisher of my book, Loud, Triumph.
Wow.
I'll be there at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon for the convention. Come by. I'll sign you a book.
Is that in Philadelphia?
Yes, Philadelphia Convention
I might
Center.
be in town. Let's do lunch.
Oh, please do it. 25, 26, 27, 29. It's the 29th of June. Don't miss it.
And if you happen to miss it, you can still buy Angelo's book at Amazon.com, AngeloCatati.com, or Audible.com. You can see Rhea Hughes on the morning show at WIP every morning on YouTube if you can't listen to it on the radio. And you can check me, Jay Black, out at the comedy club, The Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey, this coming Wednesday, July 9th. Yes, July 9th. You can check me out there. Go to stressfactory.com to get tickets. And we want to thank Steven Singer for being our great sponsor. And we want to thank you for being our listeners. Tell us if you agree with us or not. There's a little button that says fan mail. Click on it. Tell Angelo that he was wrong and that The Simpsons are a sitcom. You need to do it. And we'll talk about that next week. Thanks, everybody.